Okay, we're gonna call this meeting of the Appeals Committee to order at 6:10 PM. We have a land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement that can be found on our website. We are here with Sovereign Homes, and we will start with Alan Hervagian, who will present Sudden Valley's case.
All right, good evening, everybody. On Monday, December 2nd, I received notification that there had been a cement spillage as documented in the pictures in the complaint letter. The pictures came from social media over the weekend, and they were included in the letter, which was sent to Jay from Sovereign Homes. The association's position is that this is a cement spillage. What we believe to have happened is that this is a result of an exposed aggregate finish for the driveway where the concrete is poured, a retarder is used, and the top surface of the concrete is washed away. And the effect of that washing away, you can see on the second picture and the third picture there. And so we cited Association Policy 14.4.6, concrete trucks, and talks about the spillage and so on and so forth in the cleanup. And this was the formal notice of violation. The first violation is $2,500 plus restoration of the affected area. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, Jay, we have your letter. Would you like to get up and speak?
Sure.
You can stay there, they can hear you, but if you want to get up the podium.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet, that's okay. Well, thanks for meeting with me tonight. Yeah, I am here to discuss this with you guys. I believe the matter for me comes down to, there's no timestamps on the photos that were supplied showing this, the slurry that's gone off. I believe that's pretty key to the violation. Because we took matters to address the cleaning as well as we could throughout the whole process of that from the time that the concrete was poured. As you'll note in my timeline here, concrete was poured on Tuesday, November 26th. We did the power washing the next day, which is the 27th. That's pretty standard to wait about 24 hours for that surface to be sprayed off. And then by the time we were done spraying it off, we cleaned as well as we could until we ran out of time. Daylight, we're losing daylight at this time, end of November, 4:30-ish. And then as you guys know, during the non-watershed season, 6:30 is the latest you can actually work in Sudden Valley. The following day was Thanksgiving, which is a no work day in Sudden Valley, so we observed that. And we're back out there on November 29th, day after Thanksgiving. And did the remaining cleanup and actually restored the ditch completely with straw. Got it cleaned up the next day. So it's a matter of timeline that is my concern in this. I believe it's pretty important to establish when those photos were taken. And if you could follow me on this, like if those photos were taken by somebody walking their dog on Tuesday evening, maybe even Tuesday afternoon, you know, while the guys on site, you know, run down to the market to grab a coffee or whatever, it's in process of being cleaned up, photos snapped, posted on Facebook or what have you. It doesn't, it puts us in a position where we can't defend ourselves on what the timeline is. We don't have an established sort of record of when this stuff, or when this photo was taken. That makes sense?
Yeah.
That's the main thrust of my argument, okay?
We probably have a couple of questions. Lindy, I know you had one question.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
It's true there is no date stamp on these, but it's true, it looks like you said in here that that this had been restored, there's straw down, but there's still all this junk in the road. You know.
In that photo?
Yep, there's
Yeah.
3 photos that were submitted.
Yeah.
This one here, you've seen this one,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You know, so it's like there was some stuff done, but there's still all this stuff in the road.
Right.
The other question I have, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm looking at this driveway.
Mhm.
I have an aggregate driveway. My driveway doesn't look like this. This looks like just a cement driveway.
So that is an exposed aggregate driveway, I assure you. It is.
I'll go look. I just, you know, normally I was expecting to see like mine where you,
Larger
yeah, where you
rocks.
have the little rocks. Yes,
So there-
absolutely.
There are little rocks in there, the nature of exposed aggregate as it wears over time, it actually exposes more aggregate. This is a fresh power wash on a fresh pour, so
Mhm.
you're not seeing as much stone as you will, say, even in 6 months to a year from now. But to address your former question, all three of the photos that were supplied were actually from social media.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, so those aren't my photos,
Oh, I know.
right, yeah,
I actually was the person that submitted them.
oh, okay, great,
I'll be more than happy to own up to, I was shocked.
yeah,
It's just, it's nasty looking.
right,
You know, we say that anything that looks, you know, that it's just immediate cleanup. It isn't, I'm sorry. We went a few days,
mhm,
but that's my issue with a lot of that. That's
Got
all.
So
That's
I'd
where I'm
actually
at.
like to get you to look at specifically this one where you said you put the straw down afterwards. And, Rob, this is the one I'm looking at, and Linda, you see, this is daylight. And there is straw, and yet there's still a lot, like, so can you wanna just
Yes.
kind of explain that, what you
Yeah.
think that photo, you can just take it,
Oh,
and
sure.
go back up there, so the.
yeah, so. Right, so this is showing the slurry before it's been fully cleaned up.
But you said you put straw down after cleanup, so that's where,
Well,
Yeah.
now, I think the straw, some of the straw was probably already there. Like, we put straw down on this site a number of times. You know, because if you don't, you end up with a mud pit, so we put straw down a number of times, but this photo is. I'm guessing was taken all at the same time, all three of these photos were taken.
Yes, they were.
Right, so full restoration of, you know, the. Sort of parking right of way strip there and the road shoulder didn't occur until Friday. Until everything was fully cleaned.
Chair, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
This was
Sort
fun.
of process oriented. What? So for a driveway this size, typically, what is the process after you wash the top off? What is it entail to clean up the slurry that comes off of the surface like that?
Yeah.
What do you have to do to clean that?
You gotta shovel it, basically. You gotta slurry and you gotta shovel as much of the solids as you can. And then the rest of it, you know, you essentially have to power wash it until it's clear. Right, to get it
Okay.
off the road.
Okay, so it's a process of where you're washing, you're shoveling, you wash some more, shovel some more, or do you just wash and shovel it all when you're done?
Well, it'd be nice if you could, but if you'll kind of. When you power wash that slurry, there's a lot of water, and you actually have to wait until the water drains off until you can shovel the solids.
And for a driveway this size, so I realize you know, this is in perspective, for a driveway this size. How long would you expect your team to take to clean up the aftermath for a driveway this size?
Let's see, I think the initial power washing, setup, power washing, probably 2 to 3 hours, I would expect. You would do it in phases, you know, the first go of washing the top layer off.
Well, mainly what I'm concerned with, Jay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yep, no problem.
the cleanup
Yes.
itself, how
Right.
long would that take?
Yeah, that's all together.
For a driveway like
For
this?
a driveway this size, for total cleanup, I would estimate this to be somewhere between 3 hours, maybe 4 max.
Okay, so on Friday, or excuse me, Wednesday, you guys did your wash on. At some point, when it was still daylight, did you guys deem, you know what, we're not gonna get this done?
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Did
that's-
you?
And that's what I was trying to explain here, our cleanup was limited by daylight and crew.
Right, so at some point, did any of the teams say, you know what, maybe we should call Sun Valley and let them know that. Hey, we're in the process of cleaning up, we're trying to follow this,
Yeah.
this policy. Did you guys call Sun Valley and let them know?
No, that didn't occur to my team at all.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It is, you know, if I was made aware of this, I would have likely called, because I know how serious. I know how serious cement spillage is in Sudden Valley, it's a very big deal, and I'm actually well aware of the fines.
Okay.
It's one of the biggest on the list
Okay,
for a violation, so it's something I always look out for. It's something we always coach, you know, where the cement truck drivers, especially if they're going up a steep incline, don't take a full load. Dump right out the back,
Mhm.
yeah,
all that jazz, but you know, for the guys on site, I had a hard time. Getting them to understand that in the eyes of Sutton Valley. The slurry is the same as cement spillage. They fought me on it. I completely side with you guys, it is cement spillage, however you wanna mince words and flip it around. So, you know, I'm not, you know, pushing back on any of that.
no, I understand.
Yeah.
I think what I'm looking for is how long it would take, and at what point did you guys understand that it wasn't gonna get done, and was there communication to Alan and the team, our team, as to, gee, you know what, guys, we're not gonna get it done, but we are on this.
Yeah,
We've laid straw down, we've done some countermeasures,
there was
you
not.
know,
There was not communication to you guys to let you know we weren't gonna be able to finish in time for a cleanup in an appropriate amount of time, same day.
no, I understand, when I was working, you know, was day before Thanksgiving, I'm kind of like Fred Flintstone coming off the back of the machine, you know,
right.
so. But communication's the key.
Yep.
So,
For sure,
Yeah.
I understand.
I just have one other question personally.
Mhm.
At that time of year, when you leave that slurry for a couple of days, how long before it would actually harden? Or does it stay soft for a certain amount of time because it is diluted?
Yeah,
Or like, what are you facing if you have to leave it for 2 days?
so it'll stay, there's a couple things at play. Wet weather almost constantly this time of year certainly helps prolong. You know, how your working time to be able to get that cleaned up.
Mhm.
This type of situation, midsummer, totally different ballgame.
Of course.
Where it's dry and it's hot.
Yeah, you'd be done
Oh,
if you didn't
yes.
get it done at that time of year.
100%. But you know, the other thing is, a lot of it's colorant, right? And it's not only colorant, it's the solids that are left behind of the colorant. So, you know, we're talking about just the fines of the cement.
So it stays workable for how many days would you guess?
We had full 48 hours till we were able to get back to it, you know, leaving it Tuesday night, got back to it Friday, and we were able to clean it just fine,
Okay,
so. You know, I couldn't hazard a guess on how long you could push it further past that.
you were kind of at your limit,
I would assume so,
Yeah.
I would not be comfortable leaving it any longer,
all right.
that's for sure, but we were able to successfully clean it.
Linda?
Madam Chair, can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jay, I'm Michael Denman, I'm
Hi.
a new gentleman.
Well, hello, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yes.
I've got a little experience with this working up in San Diego where we did a lot of concrete work. You're familiar with WAC 173-303, right, Washington Administrative Code.
Mhm.
So it really deals with concrete wash areas, you know, so contractors must implement measures to prevent spills, especially when handling materials such as concrete, which may be classified as waste if improperly disposed of. And the big one, concrete can't be allowed to spill onto the ground or into waterways. And in that one photo, it's right there in the drainage ditch. And again, I'm just going with state code,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
ours kind of adds on to that. is the retardant, was it water-based? What kind of retardant was it?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Because they can also classify that as hazardous waste.
Okay.
So if the spilled concrete contains hazardous substances such as certain admixtures, coatings, or contaminants, it may be considered hazardous waste. In that case, you gotta have a hazmat cleanup.
Mhm.
So the washout areas are the big thing, according to 173-303. Construction sites gotta provide washout areas for cleaning any type of concrete fluid. The area's gotta be designed to contain the water, which may be alkaline, and prevent it from getting into the storm drains down into the waterways. So that's where the state comes down on it, and they're pretty strict.
Sure.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to add that.
No, I appreciate it.
You're
Would-
welcome.
Thank you.
Would you all agree it's pretty safe to say at this point, exposed aggregate in Sudden Valley is not a good idea?
Well,
I mean.
according to what Michael just said,
Well,
obviously.
absolutely, and based on this and based on, our experience and, running a little behind. And ending up in a situation where, we unfortunately have to have this meeting tonight.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I don't think we're gonna be doing exposed aggregate anymore.
And that's fine, then you have cement. I
Mhm.
just, quite frankly, I have an exposed aggregate driveway?
Yeah.
It has slope. Do I have issues sometimes? Not so much in most of the year. In the winter at times, it can get really interesting.
Mhm.
So I make sure I clean and put sand down on it, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But if somebody likes it, that's fine. There are driveways you can do that are a combination of pavers. And I've seen a couple of them done, especially one up in Whispering Cedars, where there's pavers and then the material in between. So you actually have created a non-impervious surface by doing that. So there's options to
Right.
that.
Okay.
Exposed aggregate's pretty, but it can get slippery.
But you're always gonna have wash off
Yep.
water. The best practice or things that we would require over the previous communities would be. You'd line a pit right there where it was gonna flow into.
Okay.
And you'd have a pump, and that pump would pump that water into your tank. You can take it outside.
Yeah,
You've seen those pits where they line them
Oh, yeah.
with real heavy disc clean.
Mhm.
And that wash water flows into them, and you just have a pump there, and you pump it. Because if it gets outside of the containment pit, then it's like that photo, it's into the.
Yeah.
Eventually, that alkaline water's going into the lake,
Yes.
right, and that's what they look at.
Gotcha.
We're not talking thousands of gallons here, but you're talking, even a little bit is a violation of the state.
Sure.
Yeah.
And a little bit on multiple job sites throughout the year adds up.
Sure,
It does.
it's an added effect, yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
of course.
Alan, would you like, are you done? Should you add anything else before I get Alan to?
Unless you have any other questions, I believe that's it for me.
I'm good. Alan, would you like to have a rebuttal?
Sure, the rebuttal revolves around 2 points. First, I'd like to commend and extend my appreciation for cleaning up the spill. That was gonna be asked for anyway. And your initiative to do that should be commended. The timeline is, in my opinion, a bit of a red herring. What we're here to talk about is the spill, and I don't think anybody's gonna argue the spill didn't happen. It happened. And so the punitive fine revolves around the spill. And that concludes my rebuttal.
All right, thank you, Alan. All right, the three of us are gonna go into the other room and discuss, and we will be back shortly.
Do you want this back?
No, I've got extra copies. I think I have like. Okay, we are back at 6:38. Jay, we talked about it and, I mean, there is a lot of spillage, but there's a lot of factors here. You can't help some of that runoff because you do have to wash down an aggregate driveway. On the other hand, maybe you shouldn't have done it right before Thanksgiving. So you would have had a bit more time and be able to come back the next day. We're kind of looking at, there was straw, like maybe you should have, we looked at a number of things. But we do need to be very aware of, the environmental factors of these driveways and making sure that, we take care of our roadways and our, cul-de-sacs and all of that. But that all being said, we are willing to reduce the fine to 2,000 from 2,500, so we will give you a little bit of a break. If there was another situation similar, we would not. But we feel like you did try, you've come here, you've been respectful, and so that's kind of where we are. So we'll leave it at 2,000, but you'll save $500.
Understood, thank you. That's
You know,
great.
just know that if neighbors are taking pictures of this, they're upset.
Right,
It isn't, and there are people that have to live there, that belong there, that are probably your neighbors on one side or the other. And that's one thing that we always ask of builders is please be mindful of the other people who have their homes in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So that's kind of all I've got to say about that.
The last comment I have for you is, I think that communication is so important. Is maybe coach your teams if they're running into an issue. Call, give Michael a call, give somebody a call and let them know that you're trying to do the right thing, but you're stuck.
yes,
Mhm.
I appreciate that very much. That has been a common discussion we've been having about the effort to be proactive.
Yes,
So,
very much.
So, and Ellen, you would agree that, you should be that contact for a situation like that as opposed to Michael, because that is your, becoming more and more your
That's
area of
correct.
expertise.
Yeah, and if necessary, I'll go to Mike and use him as a resource to supplement.
But he
my
should
response.
be your first contact. Because he is compliance and that falls right in there.
It's okay.
Be respectful of the chain of command. So.
Okay, so I think we're done and we can end this meeting adjourn this meeting at 6:41.